It is your mission to find something in the great dark, to find it and take it. Take their riches, take their lives, take their planet. Take everything and yield nothing. Don't come back until you've done so 100 times. Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today we are looking at the Kill Team Elucidian Starstriders. We're doing a guide. I'm taking all of the data sheets, I'm taking all of the rules, all of the ploys, all the Tac Ops, all of the subtext, all of the meta commentary, and I'm throwing it down into a nice, quick, simple guide for you. Obviously, whether or not it's quick, you are going to know by looking at how long this video is, but I'm just kicking off, so let's get straight into it. So, Elucidian Starstriders overview. If you just want the absolute basics, and you just want to know what's this team about, here you go, right here, right now. You can watch for a minute and be gone. So, they are a 10 model team. They are the 4th normal human faction. We kind of suspect the 5th is coming. We kind of already know what that is, we think. But if you like normal humans, if you're into your Imperials, this is the 4th. They have very weak data sheets. You're going to look at these data sheets and you're going to say, oh dear, how are these going to be good? How are they going to be balanced? But then they have a lot of additional rules on top of them that are going to empower those data sheets. Because definitely that's true. The fact that they are normal humans means they're kind of crappy. But do they have good enough rules that they are going to actually be good? You know, how do you make 3 dudes with las guns kill? Let's get into it and find out. Their archetypes are recon and security. They also have obviously their own faction, Tac Ops, yeah. You can build all of the required models from one box. That is of course a feature of the rogue trader gangs. That's what these are called. So you would never need a second box. In fact, there is no flexibility in this list. There are no options. There is no Gunner A or Gunner B. There is no Melter versus Plasma. It's a fixed list. I would say these guys are going to come in solidly middle tier. I think, if I had to guess, they are not as strong as Gelapox, but they are probably stronger than the Navy Breachers that came with Into the Dark. And I think once you understand a few of the ways they're going to work, you'll see some combos coming up and you'll understand, yes, these guys are weak, but I play this ploy and that makes them do what they do well, even if, yes, they are still technically weak. And if you can figure out how to combo all of that together, because ultimately that's how you make normal humans work, you hit them with those combo wombos, and then you can do it all. Now, I would suggest that from this point on, we're getting a deep dive. We know we all love it, deep to the hilt, all that good stuff. If you just want to jump to a specific point, go and check the timestamps below, but do be aware that the next slide is a subscriber-only slide. If you're not subscribed, it's not for you. But if you are a subscriber to my channel, I'd like to give you a big double hello. Wow, that came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. Hey, double hello to you, because you deserve it. Chef's kiss. You're good. Merch, Discord, Vantage Point Podcast, other channel called Full Scale Wargaming, Patreon. Let's not get into it. Instead, let's get into Elucidian Starstriders. Minor genuine note. Thanks for watching. Seriously. Okay, let's do this. Operatives and Abilities. So we have 10 models with no options at all. They have multiple abilities. This is the first time I've had to do the abilities for a team over multiple slides. So first off, we have the Warrant of Trade. You can select any 3 and you select them when they are relevant within the match. So, very simple. There's 6 of them. You can take 3. Reroll the Attacker Defender dice. +1 CP. Select Tac Ops from both of your archetypes. +6 EP. Additional scouting option. And reroll initiative dice. I think that in reality, you're going to be keeping one of your Warrants of Trade back for the reroll initiative dice. I think that's a key one. I think you're also going to take that +1 CP, not going to lie. Additional scouting option is going to depend on the map. I can see it being used, but I don't know if it's a go-to. I think as a community, we're going to have to sit down and think, when do we need things? We also need to really get our heads around Into the Dark in general. It's possible that being able to take that additional barricade really changes things up. And I think +6 EP, again, we're going to have to really work on this team. Personally, I think it's good. I think it allows you to take 3 more things to buff up your regular dudes, and that might just be enough to push them over the top. Okay, let's get into the second part of the Operatives and Ability, and this is Privateer Support Assets. For those of you familiar with the Veteran Guardsman, it's basically the same, except you can't draw your line of sight from any body. It has to be from Elucidian, your leader, or one of the Navis models. Navis are your regular dudes, plus the gunner, plus the shotgun and las pistol dude, plus the dog, the canid, as he also has the Navis keyword, or she. They have the Navis keyword, little doggy boy. And yeah, so I just had to put these on screen because these are big hitters. These are big hitters. I'm going to read them out because they're crazy. So the way these work is you draw your line of sight. They all have barrage, which is cool concept, and they cannot be used 2 turns in a row. So for example, turn 1, you might use Archaeotech Beam. That means you cannot use it turn 2, but you can then use it again turn 3. Pretty cool. They're also pretty obvious about what they do. Archaeotech Beam is your elite killer because it's got AP2, high damage. Guided Shell is for your mediums. I think Guided Shell is actually your standard go-to because it has blast and it has 5 attacks, 4 ups, 3, 5. That's a really good profile. However, if you can't hit more, if you can only hit 2 models, but taking Cluster Bomb might allow you to hit 4 because it is a big 3-inch blast, so 6-inch total radius, then you should take Cluster Bomb. So I would say that against, the 14 model teams, you're looking at Cluster Bomb. Against anything else, against 11 or fewer models, probably Guided Shell. Against Elite, Archaeotech Beam. And if you just want something killed, Archaeotech Beam. Okay, we then go on to the Tac Ops. Let's get straight into it. Isn't it lovely that someone has taken the time to not just read verbatim what your Tac Ops are, they've consolidated. They've summarized. Reputation to maintain. You reveal this when either leader takes damage, or deals damage, sorry. If you deal 12 or more damage, you get 1 VP. And then if you deal more than the enemy leader at the end of the game, you get a second VP. Now, I would say that this is very easy to get 1 VP with. Elucidian, who's your leader, is going to be able to score this tasty. Can you do more than the enemy leader? Well, obviously that depends who the enemy leader is, and it depends who you're fighting. So I can't really guide you too much on that. The only thing I would say is that Elucidian is relatively fragile. So if you are unable to protect her, you're not going to be getting this because she will die. We then get Claim for House Vane. Claim for the Vane, if you will. Enemy selects objective. If you control, you get 1 VP. And if you control it at the end of the battle, you get 1 VP. Pretty simple. Generally, I'm not a big fan of allowing the opponent to select or place one of your things that you need to do. But the reality is they're going to pick one of the objectives that is in their side of the board, most likely in their drop zone. So the question is, based on the map, are you able to cross the drop zone? I would generally say that's not what this team is going to be good at doing. Your guys are all weak AF. You probably don't want to feel being forced to push forwards when you don't need to. And this gives you the need to do that. So obviously very opponent dependent and very terrain dependent, but in general, probably a no-go. We then get Investigate Motive Force. Action on objective not within your drop zone. Do it twice, 1 VP. Do it thrice, 1 VP. The reason this is just action on an objective. Easy. However, it has to be with one model, which is the Electro Priest dude. The Adeptus Mechanicus guy. So, firstly, he has to stay alive for at least 3 turns. Secondly, if he's doing this, he's not doing anything else. Are you willing to swap him and his abilities to potentially score 2 VP. I think you're probably guaranteed 1 VP, but you know, once you're into turn 3, you might just not be safe. If the enemy knows what you're doing, he's going to be gunning for the one model that can do this. In general, I would probably say this is a no, but who knows? We then go to Strat Ploys, Stradivarius Ploys, as I call them. First up, we have lethal proximity. Shoot an enemy when you're within 6 inches of them. Reroll 1 dice. Nice. You know, a lot of your guys do have pistols, so this is a good one when you know it's coming up. Stake claim. Place token anywhere. Shoot an enemy opponent within 3 inches of that token. You get to auto-retain a normal. Now that's key. That's really nice. This is kind of the first piece that shows you how your crappy dudes might be able to be super good. So suddenly it doesn't matter that you're hitting on 5s and 4s, you're auto-retaining hits. Very cool. Let's keep going. Let's keep an eye out to see if we can see other ways to combo to make sure that your crappy guys are actually becoming pretty efficient. We then get Undaunted Explorers. If you're within 2 inches of an objective or 6 inches of enemy drop zone, half all damage. Rounding up. So, this, again, is really big. This is, as far as I'm aware, the first half all damage ability. And if not, then it's definitely the first half all damage across the entire team. Now, obviously, you have to be within 2 inches of an objective or 6 inches of the enemy drop zone. But honestly, you probably will be. You're going to have your weak dudes on objectives, and you're going to have your killy dudes running up probably within 6 inches of the enemy drop zone. So this is starting to look like we're going to need some CP. Let's hope they have some ways to get more CP, because you're almost, I would argue, wanting to pop Stake Claim and Undaunted Explorers every turn. Then you also have New Frontier, which is plus 1 inch move. Always useful, always useful. Doesn't apply to the dog, who is naturally a 4 circle move, so 8 inch move, so he doesn't go to 9, but everybody else goes from 6 inch move to 7 inch move. You know, plus 1 inch move is always good. However, I'm not sure how much you would actually use this, because practicality wise, Stake Claim and Undaunted Explorers are really pretty good. We then go to Tac Ploys, and we see our first little glimpse of the dog there, the real OG. And look at that, I've given him pupils. What a madman I was when I decided to do that. So combined arms. If an enemy has been shot before, you gain Relentless on it. So this is obviously a great way to take down a single enemy. Thinking about the Gellerpox, put this on one of the Hulks, suddenly all of your guys, they get to auto-retain a hit if you've played the other ploy, and they get Relentless. Like, you're going to be doing some work. I'm not saying it's, you know, it's still going to be chip damage, you've only got las guns, but... Survivalist, if you're over 3 inches from the enemy, regain 4 wounds. Damn. So, you know, yeah, just regain 4 wounds once per operative. And then get Daring, your plus 1 APL. So obviously you're going to be needing plus 1 APL, because all your guys, apart from the assassin, are 2 APL. So at some point you're going to need that ability to move, dash, shoot. We then get Well Drilled. So this is a fun little one that is actually almost identical to something the Imperial Navy breaches get, where you just get to make 2 of your guys GA2, so just 2 of them activate one after the other. This is a potentially really strong one. So yeah, I don't know, you know, I haven't quite figured out the matrix about when you'd be using that per se, but it's strong. We then go over to the Assault Ops. What's an Assault Op, Glass? So I like to break down my operatives into different classes, you know, because I'm an MMORPG nerd. And so I think about Assault, DPS, Tank, Range, all that good stuff. But I like to do Assault, Ranged, Tank, Tech. Assault is pretty obvious. It doesn't mean you want to be in melee. It does mean you want to be up close, though. 6 inches is up close. And we then have range, which means you don't want to be up close. It also doesn't mean you're going to be shooting. It just means you want to be at range. We then have tank, which are the guys that are most likely to want to be shot. And then we have tech, the guys that do weird things. Now, inevitably, a normal human team relies on its tech and its ploys. But let's talk about the Assault Ops. So we have a Canid and we have a Voidmaster. Let's go over the Voidmaster first, because I think he's a little bit more obvious. You have an Artificer shotgun with a close range and a long range. So let's do the close range first. Your 4 attacks hitting on 2s, 4-4, range 6. That's a good shotgun. Okay, hitting on 2s, 4-4. That's really nice. That's really nice. If you can get this guy up close, he's going to start doing some serious damage. We then get a long range, which is 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2-3. This is a las gun. It's trash. Las pistol is what you'd expect. It's 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 2-3. Range 6 balanced. And then a gun butt where you don't want him to be in melee. Oh, I'll throw it out there for you now. Uncompromising fire is 1 AP. It allows you to shoot both of your weapons within 6 inches at the same time. So obviously suddenly then, actually, he's looking a little bit more interesting. Doesn't have to be the same model, but you can go shotgun at one guy, las pistol at the other, or shotgun and las pistol into the same dude. Suddenly you have to start thinking, okay, actually, you know, we were liking that close range shotgun, but also now, interesting. Also, I would say with his long range Artificer shotgun, the only time you'd really want to use that is if your dash can't get you anywhere useful, and you want to set him up to do the other models that shoot at the enemy first, get relentless, whatever that was called. This is probably a good one to do it with. Yeah. He also has hardy, does he? Sorry, let's do disciplinarian first. Let's actually go down my bullet points. So disciplinarian, voidsmen within 4 inches get balanced. Hold on now. You tell them, I mean, have you counted the stacks? It's starting to look pretty easy to allow your normal dudes to auto hit, essentially. You've got an auto retain crit, you've got balanced, you've got relentless, although you don't need relentless if you've got balance. So it's like, this is almost like a CP free version of that if you're close to him, in a sense. Like, it's not looking bad. And then you get hardy. Once per turn, ignore the damage. Oh, sorry, once per battle, ignore the damage. That's very different. Let's not go spread that rumor. Once per battle, ignore damage. This is just, you know, we all know how strong Just a Scratch from Commandos is. He gets it for free once per battle. Pretty good. And then uncompromising fire, 1 AP, shoot both your guns. And that's him. We then go over to the Canid. Now you're seeing a lot of words there, aren't you? I know. If you have just come from the Kroot faction breakdown, this is identical. This is clearly, they looked at the dogs and they said, this is how dogs work. They're not, you know, okay? So, Canid cannot perform mission actions, cannot take equipment. Ignore the first circle of movement traveled for climbs, drops, you know, vertically. Loyal Companion, basically you get Savior protocols if you're in melee alongside another of your guys. And you get a free charge if you are within 3 inches of a charged friendly model. That's not an interrupt, you just get a free charge. So I think the point of that is you get a free charge, you could then fight, and then you could fall back for only 1 AP because of its retrieve, moving your full 4 circles, or 8 inches, and pick up something on the way, which is what retrieve does. Retrieve is indeed 1 AP, pick up action in the middle of a move, dash, or fullback. So you get to fullback for 1 AP. So it's an interesting one. We then go to the second set of Assault Ops. So we have the Death Cult Executioner and Elucia? Don't know, Vane. These are your 2 big hitters. Well, alongside your Privateer support things. That's always just good, and that's going off of one of, you know, any line of sight. Is just an activation, not one of your dude's actions. So let's start with Elucia Vane. So you have a digital, these are weird weapons, okay, so let's talk about them for a moment. So you get a digital laser, 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 0/0 damage. Range is 3 inches with lethal 3+, indirect, can fire it once because it's limited, mortal wounds 2. What? Okay, so you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, 0/0 damage, alright, but actually, you're hitting on 3s, therefore any hit you get is a lethal, because lethal 3+, and it's mortal wounds 2. So actually, in reality, it's actually a 0/2, except the opponent doesn't get any armor save. That's essentially what this does. If you're within 3, you can guarantee that your opponent doesn't get an armor save. This is good as a good way to soften up the opponent if they happen to be within 3 inches of you, if they're an elite, like if they've got that 3-up armor save, because this will be doing more damage than the heirloom relic pistol. Or will it, because let's read the heirloom relic pistol, 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 4/5. Range is 6 inches, so much easier. Still has indirect, and is P1. So, someone else can do the maths. Let's just say, in general, you're firing the heirloom relic pistol. That digital laser, it's not great. If you manage to get the P1 to go off on the heirloom relic pistol, which, don't forget, you have ploys that allow you to re-roll within 6 inches, which you're probably going to be popping because a lot of your guys have a 6-inch weapon, you can fish for that 6. So you're probably, I would argue, going to be getting a crit, which means you are P1, which means suddenly that 4/5 damage, if you just get 1 crit through, you're doing better than the digital laser, almost always. Which makes me think, what is up with the digital laser? I legit don't know when to use it. Anyway, you have a disruption field, which is a 4-up invuln save. Oh yeah, let's, your APL 2, 8 wounds, 4-up save, 4-up invuln. Predator, free fight or shoot action. So this essentially pushes you to being APL 3 in reality, because normally you're going to be fighting or shooting. That's quite nice. The only reason you're not APL 3 obviously is a little bit less flexible, but also you can't mess around with objectives. So you're not going to count as 3 APL on an objective, which is interesting. This is good though, you know, really nice ability, sure. Probably, I think it's almost thematic that they didn't give her APL 3. They just, you know, it's normal human, so unadvanced or unaugmented kind of, so they can't be APL 3 thematically, so they just give them an ability that essentially makes them APL 3. Whatever. We then have, what do we have? Merciless. This is balance, so you have balance in both melee and shooting if the enemy is below their starting wounds. So if they've taken any damage, even from just a normal lasgun or the long range shot from your Voidmaster, suddenly you have balanced, you're going to be doing some damage, let's just say that. Okay, and then we get the Death Cult Executioner. So you're APL 3 here, very nice, very nice. 8 wounds, save as a 6-up, but you do have a 5-up invuln. You have, and we've got to go over these, you have a Dart Mask. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 1/1 damage, range 6, lethal 5-up, silent, stun. Now in reality, I don't think you're going to be using this often, but let me give you a scenario where you use it. So, somebody ends up within 6 inches of you, you shoot them with your Dart Mask, you can stay on a conceal I suppose, although not if you want to charge. Yeah, so the silence irrelevant. You're stunning if you roll a 5, which 4 dice you probably should, and that's what you're doing this for. You don't care about the damage, you're looking to get a stun, you're looking to remove an APL from an enemy. This is just straight up a debuffing weapon that might do 1 damage. But to do stun, you just need to retain 1 crit, and then she has lethal 5-up, so it's that. Yeah, fine, it's cool. Messing with people's APL is effective. I can't argue with that. And you are APL 3, so cool. Then you have a power weapon, 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4/6, lethal 5-up. That's a really good profile. Yeah, not much has that profile, 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4/6. You then have Duelist. No, you have, sorry, 5-up invuln from rapid reflexes, but then you have Duelist, which is, if you get charged, you can attack first, but it has to be a parry. So that's a pretty standard one we've seen now. So parry before the charger. You have Zealot, which is a 6-up feel no pain. Very nice. You've only got 8 wounds, so in reality this is 1 extra wound. In reality it means you have 9 wounds. People will forget it though, so it's quite nice. And then you have Assassin, which costs you 1 AP. You can change order when not engaged. So when not in engagement range. So presumably, if you're a smarter man than I, you could figure out how that works with the Dart Mask Silent ability, I guess. But it's still costing you an AP to do. Basically, the Death Cult Executioner runs in and kills anything that is between 10 and 12 health. That's her role. And if they have more than that, she dies. And she loses the melee. I would suspect that in reality, because you are 5 attacks hitting on 2s with a lethal 5 up, you are going to have the dice to play the blocking game. So you should be getting more hits than they are. So when you're playing with her, keep in mind blocking. Prioritize that, because you're probably hitting 4 dice, if not 5, every time. That's a lot of dice. You can out-block your opponent 9 times out of 10. We then go over to the ranged operatives. Now, they've done something weird here. They've taken the Voidsmen, which are 4 unique-looking models, like completely different. One of them having a rotor gun, a rotor cannon, sorry, and they put them on 1 datasheet, and they are indeed all the same. The only difference is one of them has a big gun, yeah, and the others have a standard las gun. It is just a standard las gun hitting on 4s. It's a bit meh. Not gonna lie, it's a bit meh. So let's look at the stats. Very standard. This is a standard veteran guardsman stat line. 5 up save, 7 wounds, APL 2, GA 1. But we've talked about it. So we know what a las gun is. Obviously it's 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2, 3. Nothing to shout home about. The rotor cannon, however, is 6 attacks hitting on 4s, 3, 4. Fusillade, heavy. Heavy is not doing you any favours. This is someone you're going to hang at the back of the board, and they're probably just going to sit on an objective, and that's it. Playing defence, essentially. I wouldn't even say you want to get this person up on a vantage point. Sure, 6 attacks is good, but in reality, you know, you're hitting on 4, so it's 3 hits. 3, 4 is nice, it's a bolter, but the enemy auto retains 1, the enemy then saves 1, so you're doing 3 damage. From 6 dice, you're going to do 3 damage. That's roughly how things are going to go for you. As you can tell, I like to be a bit negative about these things. You know, hey, you could be doing 4, 6 damage, who knows, but let's assume 3. Yeah, Fusillade you never use, don't even think about it. We just have to look at these guys. How many buffs did we manage to stack on them? So, they're going to be close to the Void Master, maybe, so they get balanced. If they're not, you're going to be shooting at a specific target that you've put the token next to, the 6-inch range token, so they're all going to have Relentless. Suddenly, all of these, if these 4 models will have Relentless when they shoot something, that's not too shabby. And you could also be getting an auto-retain. So an auto-retain plus Relentless from 4 models, that's pretty good, I've got to be honest. It always depends who you're shooting into. You could still, against, you know, the 3-up teams, be averaging just 2 damage, even with Relentless. And that's kind of nothing. Okay, and you're wasting an entire turn if you then shoot with all 4 of your guys. This is the real issue with the Starstriders. You have to make your Voidsmen get work done, and it's going to cost you CP to do it. If you don't, then you don't have enough in your arsenal. Don't get me wrong, the specialists are great, the specialists are fine, but they're not going to win you the game. The Voidsmen have to do things. Yes, they have to be the ones that are standing on objectives and doing actions. They have to be your action monkeys, but they also have to be effective, because just 5 specialists isn't enough to kill stuff. So it's a real tough one. It's a real tough one, honestly. This is what makes me so curious about whether or not this team is going to perform well. Whether or not you can make the Voidsmen actually effective with all of the buffs. We then get to the Tac Ops. Now, there's a lot of text on this screen, so let me just make it normal for you. The Rejuvenate Adept is just a good medic. There you go. Don't read the text. It's just a good medic. So she has Normalizer Helm, which is when you are within 6 inches of her, you do not count as injured. That's going to be useful, because you are going to be injured very quickly because you're not very survivable. Battlefield Surgery is you get to res a dude with 3 wounds left instead of 1 wound left, so good medic. And then Healing Serum for 1 AP is D3 plus 3 heal. That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's essentially a full heal for all your guys. We then get to the Electromeister. Now, this is the guy that I said had to do the Tac Ops. That final Tac Op. This is your AdMech dude. So, he has 4 abilities. Oh, sorry. The Rejuvenate Adept, don't even get into melee. There's no point. You don't want to be there. So, with Electromeister, we do need to read his Voltaic Pistol, though, because some of his stuff is related directly to that. It's 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, 4/4, range 6, rending, splash 1. Now, I don't mind this. That's a decent little profile, and don't forget that you do have one of your ploys, which is when you're within 6 inches, reroll a dice. So, instead of just being 2 hits, let's say that puts you up to 3 hits on average, which is a potential 12 damage. If you get a crit, that becomes 2 crits, which becomes an immediate 2 mortal wounds. So really you're looking at 10 damage minimum. I don't know why I said minimum. That's a crazy word to say. I'm just saying it's an interesting one, but it relies on rolling a 6 quite heavily for that rending and splash. But if you do, it's 2 mortal wounds guaranteed. So anyway, let's read all of the stuff. So Voltgeist Array, or Voltgeist Array. Within 4 inches of this operative, you can reroll a defense dice. So that's obviously good for keeping your Voidsmen alive. Although, are your Voidsmen actually going to be running up with this guy who needs to be up close? Probably not, because they're your action monkeys, they're your range, they have to stay back. So this is more for your Rejuvenate Adept, your specialists, you know. Missionary of the Martian Creed is just perform a free mission action. Nice, that is very useful, especially in Into the Dark. A Voltgeist Field is 1 AP, and if an enemy ends their move within 2 inches of this guy, D6 mortal wounds. Now, D6 is a big swingy number, but that's a beautiful big swingy number. Even if it's just an average 3 mortal wounds, that puts a lot of teams to within shooting range of death. That's actually possibly really good. And I don't believe it's limited. It's not once per turn. It's every model that moves within 2 inches. So it puts you on a really nice area denial. But not so like, yeah, really good. It also makes nobody wants to charge this guy because, okay, he's not good in melee, but what if you take 6 mortals? Right? However, it is mutually exclusive with a Voltgeist Charge, which is the next ability, which is, again, 1 AP. Yep. Your pistol gains lethal 4+. So this is quite nice, obviously. If you can mix this with a bunch of rerolls, you could, relatively easy, with your auto-retain, with your relentless, with your reroll, you could be getting... You could legit become a potential 20 damage pistol, which is pretty crazy. You would just need to roll 2 4-ups. No, sorry. You'd still need to roll 4 4-ups in total. 1 would be an auto-retain, which you do take. And then you need to roll 2 4-ups, which would become, because it's a lethal 4-up, they would be criticals. So that would pop both of your others to criticals. So you get 4 crits, which means you're doing 4 mortals, and then plus 4 4s. So yeah, you're a 20 damage shot relatively consistently, which is going to shock people, obviously. Obviously, they then get to take armor saves and stuff, and you know, but that will come out of nowhere for some people. Is that better than the Voltgeist Field D6 Aerodynamo? I don't know. Either way, we go over to the equipment next. We get, I've got to be honest, this is remember the Warrant of Trade allowed you to get +6 EP. Their equipment's not great. So let's see what it is though. So Flash Visor 1 EP, ignore APM modifiers and stun. Okay. Carapace Armor 2 EP, Voidsman / Voidsmaster 4-up save. So going from a 5-up to a 4-up. Hot Shot Capacitor Pack 2 EP, +1 damage to lasguns / pistols. Concussion Grenade 2 EP. Pick a point within 6 inches. Roll 4 up for everyone within 2 inches of that point. -1 APL or enemy operatives. So that's an APL modifier thing. And also frag and crack grenades at 2 and 3 EP, as you know what frag and crack grenades are. So you're always taking frag and crack grenade, basically, because they are good and you don't have a grenadier option. After that, so that's 5 EP gone. Although you never know, you might not take the frag, but having a pocket crack is always going to be good. After that, I'm leaning towards kitting out all of your Voidsmen and Voidsmasters with hotshot capacitor packs first, so that instead of doing 2, 3, they're bolters at 3, 4, and then carapace armor where you can. Now, the reason I'm thinking about that is that, as I said earlier, you need to make your Voidsmen do things, and if they're not doing things, what are you doing? Right? You're not going to be winning. Yes, they're action monkeys, but they have to do things. So, or I'm wrong, and actually, those are the worst picks because your specialists are good enough to handle themselves, and your Voidsmen are just action monkeys, and they're just going to sit at the back and do nothing. I can't be sure. Yeah. This could be a strong team, better than Breaches, better than Kroot, or it could be a bit of a lame duck. It's really hard to tell without getting them on the table, and unfortunately I wasn't sent the annual until relatively late by GW, so thank you to GW. I keep forgetting to thank them in these videos because I've done so many, it's just, my mind is a blur. But thank you to GW for sending me the annual so that I could look at this, and unfortunately I didn't get it to me till quite late, so this has been quite a rushed read through of the annual. And I will say, I'm certain the Galapox are strong. Everything else I'm not so sure of, and that includes the Starstriders. I can see some obvious good things, and I can see how they're supposed to be good, but I don't know if what they have is actually good enough to make them good. And I haven't had time to get them on the table and really test them, especially when I've also been given Into the Dark plus Galapox. It's like, yeah, I just haven't had time. Also, I moved house during that time since being given Into the Dark. It's been a very busy month, let's just say that. And with that said, if you've made it to the end of the video, I'd like to say you're super cool. Just throwing that out there. Super cool, super cool. Also, though, I would like to give you something in return, and I would like to give you a big triple hello. Wow. Namaste. Sumimasen. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Merch, Discord, Patreon, podcast, other channel. And just, yeah, thanks for helping me out. Anyway, what do you think of the Starstriders? Because genuinely, as I just lamented, I'm not sure. I can see how they're meant to work, but I don't know if they do work. What do you think? I know it can be hard sometimes to look at the normal human factions and see how they work, but what do you think? Guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. Thank you so much for watching. This is actually my final video that I'm doing. This is my 10th video for Into the Dark and the annual. I'm burned out. I'm disappearing. Thank you so much for watching. Much love. Bye.